using Facebook or using a search back in 2004, you'll always have the kind of shadier but still legal types of companies that aren't necessarily policed yet in the right way by that new media company or that type of advertising.
Leah, things that won't change?
So I think in the short term, and I mean in the next 3-ish years, I think the concerns around, so first the cookie I don't think is going away in the next 2 years or so. But other than that, I think in the next 3 years or so, I think the concerns around how to balance user choice and user privacy with with adding value through advertising. I think that debate and solutions to those are going to still go on, and it'll take some time to find that balance. So I think while the industry is moving towards that, and people are trying, companies are trying really hard to find that balance, as we've discussed, there are newer and newer methodologies coming for measurement. There is more data coming online. There's use of more data being made. I think the envelope is going to continue to get pushed at those questions. Some of the questions will get resolved and new ones will open up. So I think that's one thing. The second thing that I think, so this is short term. Longer term, I think we talk about how there are algorithms and how we're going to use algorithms to reach the right audience at the right time. I think one of the things that will never change is that advertisers know who they want to reach from a brand perspective, right? When they're trying to raise awareness. So for example, when I put myself in the advertiser's shoes. I'm a product manager. I know who my product is targeted at, right? So being able to take that intelligence in and being able to help them get, being able to somehow take that, factor that in better, like you do today. So for example, Porsche, like they know who their target audience is. That factor will never change no matter how algorithmic things get, and that human intelligence factor will never go away.
Sunil, you want to add on to that?
I mean, I think a lot of good things have been said. One thing that I think is not going to change because we're just innovating so many things at such a fast rate. The mix of good and bad will remain there for good time. And as you said that you really, as a buyer, we need to be smarter. So the measurements will really, will help us figure out what is good, what is bad. And I'll give an example. We talk about location fraud, that's coming. We have this issue with rich media, which is just an ad unit where you click on something and it starts playing a video and something. So those are some new technologies that are coming in on the creative side. And each of these creative technologies have issues. Rich media, almost 40%, we all know that it doesn't really work very well on publishers. So almost we are creating this 40% waste. And next year something new will come up. So I think the innovation is happening at such a fast rate that we just have to remain smarter. As the new technology comes in, we have to just be able to kind of figure out what is good and what is bad, and just discount the price by whatever it is, and not or waste.
Given everything that was covered, I think maybe I'll answer the question a little bit differently, which is from the perspective of entrepreneurship. So we can spend all day, all night, all this week, this month, this year talking about technology. And as an industry, that's what we do. We constantly talk about technology. If you think about entrepreneurship in an industry, I mean, this is a fantastic one because, you're asking about innovations before. We don't know about a lot of the stuff that are the innovations that are coming. Mobile, everyone, all of us are becoming mobilized right now with our devices. But using the label of mobile is going to go away because everything's going to be mobile. And you kind of all know that wearable technology is coming. So whether it's Google Glass or it's going to be on your wrist or something else, there's more innovation coming. And if you simply think about yourself as a consumer and how your patterns are changing, you can anticipate new opportunities. Take old models, apply them to new devices, new media formats, new content. There will be opportunities. So there's going to be lots of entrepreneurship that you could consider. And if you get caught up purely in the technology, though, here's the catch, you'll probably fail. If you think you can design simply a better algorithm and that is in and of itself enough to be successful, you are mistaken. Even in a technology-driven industry like this, so many of the decisions, maybe they're not entirely made, but they're influenced by relationships. Because, you know, my company, the team that we have, our DNA is technology, we're very good at what we do. But our sales force matters because someone has to create a trust relationship with our customers that says, yeah, we'll show you the technology is good, but you want to trust the team that's building and innovating that technology. And so whether it's selling, where you need to have relationships, whether it's support, okay, you've sold a technology platform, but now there's an ongoing relationship in order to support it. Your customers have to trust that relationship in the support team. Or with venture capital, like go all the way, to the very top of the kind of entrepreneurship chain when you need to sell that algorithm or that new workflow tool or whatever it is. It's about having a relationship where people who are investing trust you. So we can talk about technology, but the one thing that will never go away is the importance of relationships in any industry, particularly this one.
Thank you. That definitely makes sense. So moving on to the last segment of the discussion is around the career opportunities in this industry. So question to this audience just to understand the mix in terms of your work experience. So by show of hands, how many of you code?
Sorry?
How many of you do programming? Are you in engineering right now? 20-30% of the people. Any of you in product management, marketing? Roughly 30-40% of the people over here. Sales, ad sales, not say like enterprise sales. 10% of the people. So we have a diverse set of experiences in the audience. So from the industry perspective, definitely there is a lot of talent crunch, and we, in our own companies, we will probably spend a lot of time interviewing and recruiting people. What kind of opportunities do you see from industry perspective? We touched upon data, we touched upon machine learning, we touched upon infrastructure, fraud. What are those opportunities and the talents and skill set the industry is seeking for? Philip, do you want to start on that?
Sure, it's an interesting cross-section because that actually seemed to balance out for a company. Like, so in this space, like, what do you need? It's all of those roles that were identified in roughly the proportions that were shown. Because you have to have great technology, but then you have to wrap everything else around technology. I think it's incredibly hard to find really good product management and product marketing people. I mean, the obvious ones to point out are within engineering and certainly within Bay Area, and it's been proven time and time again with thanks to companies like Facebook, that rock star engineering talent is just that, they're rock stars. And they command an incredible value and incredible price. But there's a lot that has to be wrapped around that. Great product management, great product marketing, marketing that really knows their industry and they know it on a global, regional basis, and great sellers. That doesn't change. What really matters is having that combination of both breadth and depth. You really need to have that deep expertise, but oftentimes if it's too narrow, then you kind of get limited in your value. And to me, that combination is be an expert and highly motivated in your role, but make sure you understand the context that role is within. What is the industry? So for our engineers, the ones who are really, really great and the most valuable, the most compensated, they're the ones who are great at the technology, but understand the context the technology is being applied within. Because they're the ones who can shortcut. They can say, oh, okay, I understand what our field teams are asking for, and there's a different way of approaching it. And so it's that intersection of both a technical skill and a business context that, for us, at least, is incredibly valuable.
Great. Anyone else wants to add to that in terms of the skill set of expertise needed by the industry?
I think in the ad industry that we're living in terms of performance display and very technology heavy types of companies, partnerships is a really, really important part of the organization. No company is standing on its own, just selling to advertisers and not working with other intermediaries or channel partners or other types of systems. There's tons of integrations that go on, and those need to be very properly managed, both by kind of the relationship managers who understand the needs and can make sure that resources are being applied appropriately. But also kind of on the operations and kind of technical side where documentation and SLAs, service level agreements, kind of stability and reporting and monitoring are really important. So in today's world where you look at the Lumascape chart, I'm sure you guys have seen that, it kind of looks like a big, like an animal died on a PowerPoint slide, with all these different companies who do all these different things, right? They're all interconnected and they need teams on both sides to work together in partnerships.
Great.
Um,
Any other thoughts?
Sure, so I think there's a new term or a new job class that has come up recently, and it comes up more and more, especially in advertising, which is a data scientist and an analyst, right? That is becoming more and more crucial, and the reason it's crucial is because even though the analysis and the actual buying mechanisms are being done by algorithms and through machines, how do you make sure that the machines are doing the right thing and you're interpreting what the data that's coming in the right way, right? And you need a certain skill set which generally programmers don't have, very few engineers have, and these are heavy statisticians. These are people that understand how to manipulate data to actually get insights from it. And that, I think, it's beginning to form, but it is really, really lacking. And I see that every day in my job. It's like, I wish there was someone who could do this much better. Or I wish we could hire more people like this, right? And that, I think, will eventually end up becoming a very mainstream and crucial job.
Completely agree.
I'm going to add just one more function, which is very important now, is in the business operations side. I think a lot of technologies have been built around, and these engineers provide these knobs that you can control the inventory, control the quality, and do all that. At the end of the day, the operators of this business are really talking to customers and really understanding their requirements and what their goals are. At the same time, also maximizing the revenue opportunity for the publishers who are really trying to supply. So those roles are very important. I remember this advertising, millions of requests coming in every second, and these inventories are perishable. So if you don't make the right decision, you could be under monetizing your business. So I think the technology is there, but I think there is a clear need for good operators of the business who are really good at analytics and good customer service and can see both sides of the world, supply as well as demand. And that's something that's really hard to find, actually, in the industry.
Thank you. So lots of opportunities. To wrap up today's discussion, my last question, as more of a rapid fire question, is if you are writing a news story or a blog post in December of 2014, summarizing the year activity, what will be your headline of your article will be? We'll start with Philip.
The one word that comes, the one word I think that's just going to dominate this year is programmatic, because the industry has reached an inflection point where programmatic was first an experiment, and then it was a minority, and it's now basically transitioning to become a majority. And so there are going to be different flavors of programmatic, but that is kind of the core concept to me of what is changing in advertising is programmatic and all the things that wrap around that.
Sunil?
I would say location wins, the reason I say because we're able to tap into demand that was really impossible. There's a lot of money spent on billboards, and this is like a really traditional media. And the owners of these billboards are coming to us and saying, okay, can we just target users near our billboards? So I think this is the year when we'll be able to kind of migrate offline demand. So location wins would be my say.
Yeah, headline for the year?
So 2014, I think, and maybe it's partially hope also, but I think this is a year when brands will, or when advertisers will actually start moving reasonable portions of their budget online. It's not that TV advertising will die, it's not that it still won't be dominant, but this is the year when, given all the new technology, given how much more value all the technology brings to advertising online, I think advertisers will experiment and be more open to moving serious portions of their budget online.
I get the last word. I think cross-device will be the headline, and what that means is that you are, when you're running a digital ad campaign, you're not just targeting kind of anonymous cookies that might represent multiple people, or you might be targeting what you think is one person, but you're actually reaching them across multiple cookies, or kind of blindly reaching people on their mobile devices. But you'll be able to understand users' behaviors. They go from web to mobile phone to tablet to laptop and back, and be able to tie everything together from a targeting and measurement perspective in a cohesive way.
Thank you. Programmatic, location, shift to digital, and cross-screen, cross-device. And that, all those are the 4 different ones, and I think that kind of reflects the nature of the industry, the fast growth of the industry, and the dynamics of the industry. So with that, I think we had a terrific 60 minutes of discussions, touching upon where the industry is right now, where are the top trends, what are the career opportunities. So thank you all. And with that, I'd like to open it to audience questions. And this is definitely not a shy audience, so we'll pass on the mic.
Hi, it was a very good session. I learnt a lot. Can you all hear me?
Let me just switch it.
I switched it on. We can hear you without the mic.
Yeah.
Okay,
You're
very
too
good. Excellent. So I'm very. There is a lot of new things I learned. A lot of buzzwords. I think I look very intelligent when I go back to my workplace. But what I'm very interested is in some ideas. So what can I do tomorrow morning? Because you all know about advertising. You all know a lot of stuff. Let's say I'm a startup entrepreneur. I have a budget of 25,000 per month. So if I come to you and say, Philip, Diya, and all those people, I want to double the return on investment for my 25,000. I was getting X ROI. I want to get 2X ROI. Can you give me 2-3 ideas? If each one of you give me 2-3 ideas, I'll have a dozen ideas.
There are 4 ideas: programmatic, location. Anyone wants to take the question?
Well, I think the first question I'd ask is if you're using Facebook ads, but it's hard to know. I mean, we have a lot of conversations like this with advertisers all the time. It's hard to know how to advise on a strategy without knowing exactly what the business is and what the objectives are, and just how everything operates. We used to, at Facebook, have a culture of kind of building new functionality for our ad products and just kind of announcing them and reading off the list of specs and saying, this is really good because the page loads faster when you're creating an ad, right? And that has nothing to do with anything. And we've recently retooled how we describe our products and how we advise marketers and how to use them into 4 different types of advertisers. So local businesses, mobile app developers, people who drive conversions from e-commerce and travel websites, for example, and then in-store, offline, brand and retail types of advertisers, because we learned that they have very different needs. We need to tell them very different stories. And so the first thing I'd ask is kind of like, which of those does a business fall in? How big is your business? What are you doing today in advertising? What kind of data do you have? What kind of data does Facebook have on your target audience, and how can we work together to be successful?
Thanks, Todd. Any more questions?
It's okay, I can shout. Don't worry. A quick question. I was talking to the founders of Wix, which is an online, very quick way of writing websites. What they told me was, like we have brand pages and Facebook company-specific pages. They say the trend is moving away because they believe brand is their domain, and they like to create their own websites versus create the company pages on Facebook. What have you seen?
It's funny, back in like 2005, 2006, do you guys remember a lot of brands were trying to build their own social networks? You had companies like Ning that were offering white labeled social networks, and then you kind of had brands building a lot of like photo apps and music apps. And I think they've learned that generally that doesn't work, but there's always people within the organizations that think that they need to be vertically integrated and run everything themselves. We've seen almost every major multinational and all the way down to little mom and pop brands build successful Facebook brand presences and do really good things that way and move all kinds of metrics. So it's in some companies' best interests to make claims like that, but I would wholeheartedly disagree and advise brands to really focus on what they're best on, which is building products and marketing, not on kind of technology development in-house. And I'm sure, Phil, you probably had conversations with brands that say, actually, we're going to develop a programmatic ad system in-house. We don't need to license your software, and sometimes they kind of get too smart for themselves.
Yeah, certainly on the technology side, that's an issue. Agencies are very prone to thinking that they can build technology that's not their core competency. In regards to having kind of that website question, if you're a Wells Fargo customer, and there's a good chance that you are, will you check your account information in the next few days from the website or from the app? Could be one, could be the other. It's an and, not an or. So from a strategy perspective, a brand needs to be where their audiences are. And their audiences are on social. They're on Facebook specifically. I don't know if there is another definition for social right now. Maybe Twitter. But they're also on the web. They're also on mobile in app experiences. And so good brands will extend themselves to where their audiences are, as opposed to trying to force the audiences to go where the brand wants to be.
Very good.
Hi, touching on what Scott said earlier about agencies, and maybe the legacy agencies are a little not on the cutting edge. The agencies are getting bigger and bigger, ad agencies, like the Publicis Omnicom merger, and also agencies like RGA are turning toward business consulting in general. Do you think that this huge conglomerate and also incorporating across functions has an impact on your companies and advertising industry as a whole?
Yes.
Who hasn't gone in a little while?
Go ahead.
Yes, I think we face a challenge, anytime, we bring something new to the market. And when we started talking about location in 2012, agencies, okay, what does this really mean, what are you going to do to me? So there's a very long education process at the agency, which, makes us often get frustrated that you can't really tell them the value they're bringing to the table. So our approach has been, approach clients directly because they understand the value a lot better than the agencies. And we've been very successful in actually pushing a lot of these agencies from the clients, such as Walmart and Sears, and some of these guys actually directly work with us. They still buy through agencies because they do a lot of other business with agencies, so you can't really bypass agencies. But anytime you bring like new technology to the marketplace, and if you want it to be adopted fast enough, then you have to work with clients directly versus trying to go through the agency route, then we'll just delay everything by 9 months. At least more than that.
Yeah, you want to
Good.
add on?
Right. Well, I mean, so I think to Sunil's point, I think agencies serve so many functions for a client. I mean, buying on TV, you're not going to go to, the client's not going to do that directly, right? So it's hard to bypass agencies. Agencies are getting more and more technically savvy, as you know, through DSPs, right? So yes, for getting technology adopted, you have to go directly or you can go directly to an advertiser. So I'm not exactly sure there is a right way. I mean, you can always leverage both sides of the house.
What I would say is that agencies are not going away, but they do need to evolve. And that's a big part of what you see occurring right now. You mentioned Omnicom and Publicis. Turns a primary technology provider to both of them, specifically for powering what they call their trading desks, which are new business units they've created that specialize in programmatic buying. And so that actually is an interesting question. It has a very direct impact on us because we have contracts with them individually. And now that's coming together. So all sorts of things carry out from that. But the net with agencies is they need to evolve in their business model and how they create value. Because the legacy model for the media agencies, and there are creative agencies, but we're really talking about media agencies, I think, with the question. Their legacy model was to simply execute media buys on behalf of a brand and take a percentage on that. That function, which is basically a spreadsheet and a phone, programmatic, it's going away. So evolve or die, right? You either have to change the value proposition, you need to become more consultative, you need to become someone who has the data scientists that are interpreting data and helping to inform what decisions to make strategically from that data. If you evolve that way, the agencies can be successful. Otherwise, a lot of them will get disintermediated because the brands will simply bring in-house a lot of the kind of execution functions that can now be powered through programmatic interfaces instead of a team of 22-year-olds.
I think the other phenomenon that we'll come to another question is that as much as I said negative things about Super Bowl commercials, if you're an agency and you're paid a percentage of media spend, $4 million at a 5% share, or maybe even 10% of media spend is a lot of money for an agency to pick up. And to buy that for an advertiser, if you're an agency, to go to CBS and say, I want to buy a $4 million spot, it doesn't take that much work, right? So maybe you go out to dinner and you sign some paperwork and like, that's it, right? To spend $4 million in display takes a much different skill set than just kind of signing a piece of paper and going out to dinner, right? You need to use technology, you need to have people who really understand analytics, and it's a very different role that the agencies traditionally didn't have. I always get reminded of this whenever I get emails from agencies, and I'm actually curious, I'm gonna ask you guys to raise your hands. At work, how many of you guys use Gmail or some sort of cloud-based solution for email? So most people. How many people use Exchange, like Exchange and Outlook? That's actually what we use at Facebook, and I'm embarrassed to say that because that's a technology that's been around since the 90s. How many people use Lotus Notes at work?
Nobody.
So the biggest agencies in the world use Lotus Notes at work, and when we try to calendar things together, it always breaks. And when their emails come through, it's in this weird formatting, right? And that just shows you how kind of technology averse they are when they're using a different system than all of us here in this room.
Great. We'll just take one last question. I promised them to let them go by 8:30.
You had asked about, you guys spoke about two things, keywords, value and partnerships. So I want to give an example of Salesforce.com that has an app exchange ecosystem that imbibes that philosophy of bringing partners and stuff like that. So this question is for all the panel members. Do you have sort of those type of partnerships in place where product companies such as us can come and do meaningful partnerships with you, or do you sell that as a consultative value also to your customer over and beyond just your advertising solution?
Short answer is yes. So in our case, we probably have about maybe like 120 different partners who are ultimately components of a solution that is being provided. Is it structured in kind of a very pure self-service app marketplace, or kind of the Salesforce model, or the Play Market, or iTunes, App Store? No, not quite. This industry is niche enough where solutions need to be tightly integrated. And so it goes back to the comment around business development and relationship management, because typically what happens is you need, as a vendor, to have a relationship with kind of the gateway platforms that are those primary interfaces that are being used where you want to be incorporated. But it's, with the exception of one company called AppNexus, who launched an app marketplace, which frankly really hasn't been successful. It's more kind of classic business development relationship driven as opposed to app marketplace driven.
We'll take two quick questions. Yeah, just one question from there.
Okay. Yeah, one of the questions I have is about the value chain, like when the dollar moves, the ads move from the brand marketers, then agencies, then the DSPs, then let's say publisher and user, right? In this value chain, the best brand marketers are coming from the best business schools, like CMOs or whatever. They're all like data-oriented, analytics, read about business intelligence, come from the Ivy League schools, right? And then we have the agencies like young media planners, like responsible for like big budgets, and somewhere it's weak, right? Either they're not giving a lot of importance to ROI, or they're not tech savvy. Then you have the DSP sophisticated, then you have the premium publisher sophisticated, the user is becoming very sophisticated also. So what is happening at the agency side, and why there is no like a revamp or a revolution?
They're trying. I mean, I'm not sure what else to say beyond that. I mean, yeah.
I mean, I mean, we talked about this, and funny thing, and Starcom, one of agencies, just hired a technology expert to just have some uniformity across, all their companies, and they're working on it. It's just very hard for them to attract talent, when there has to be almost a revolution in that market. They have to be gone, and then something new has to come in. They can't hire any talent. I think that's the problem. It's just we're just playing along, actually, trying to bypass.
Business models have inertia, and it's hard to change models. It's hard to cannibalize yourself, even when you know it's the right thing to do. It's hard, and they're trying, but they're also struggling.
Any more questions?
Just have
Oh,
one.
yeah.
So when it comes to mobile, what I heard was, location is one thing new, unique to mobile, and then it's device ID. But the end result is still a display ad. That's kind of what I'm hearing. I mean, do you see anything different? For example, iBeacon, things like that are a little bit different. But with all these new things in advertising and in technology, what is the end result for mobile? I mean, are there new ways to advertise in mobile?
I mean, there are some new formats coming up. It's not just a display ad. Native ads are coming along, and also audio ads. So, if you look at Pandora, then it's not a display ad. It's actually an audio ad, and especially the kind of demand that we bring to the table. A lot of national brands, a lot of the long tail brands. Some of the other formats are more successful, especially native ads and audio ads. If I have a customer, who is a local dentist or a local lawyer, I think those native ads actually work better than a display ad. And similar in audio ad, if you're an insurance agent and you play an audio ad, okay, I'm gonna give you $100 off. So you can engage better with an audio ads. So yeah, it's not just a display ad, there are other audience that come along.
Display is really a catch-all for like any form of advertising that's not search, really, right? So display includes video, it includes all the other different native kinds of advertising, it includes any kind of interactive ad. So eventually display ends up becoming a catch-all for any new innovation that happens.
Yeah. Is it fair to say non-search is display?
Non-search is-
What's the future of print-based advertising? It's
I'm sorry, what? What's print?
Print media-based advertising.
I'm not familiar with this thing you call print.
I think the speakers will be here for a few more minutes. If you have some questions, you can come up.
Yeah.
So thank you all for coming, and big round of applause. There's a feedback form. I need a feedback from all of you, and it needs to be statistically significant.